going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel. Today we are out testing my swim bait collection. I do have quite a bit of a swim bait collection, and I just wanted to get out, kind of show you guys the different ways that they swim, the different techniques that I use them, and kind of just give you an idea of what they look like in the water. I know a lot of these baits are kind of high market or kind of hard to come about, so if I can just give you an idea of what they look like, maybe give you an idea of which one you might want to pick up if you do like big swim baits. Anytime I can get you guys some more information and get out here and throw some big baits, it's a good day for me, so I'm not going to complain. But in front of me, I have a large selection actually. I brought two different DRTs. I brought the K9, I brought the TK. I also brought myself two different bluegill patterns. I have the Swimbait Underground Sly Gill pattern, and then the UFO male gill pattern. On top of that, we have the Fishing Magician Shad Glide Bait, and then we have the Phoney Frog Phoney Shad in the bronze back shad color. And it's crazy that I'm looking at all these baits in front of me because I've picked them up over the year, and each of these baits are easily over $100. This bait right here in front of me is $160. Each bait actually is around $160. So there's quite a collection and quite some money that I've invested in these baits. But they definitely are fun baits to have. They're definitely nice to have in your collection, and they definitely attract big fish if you're willing to get out there, commit, and throw the big baits. But today, mainly what we're gonna do is just get out here, try to show you guys what they look like, have some fun, and maybe we'll switch up to another spot where I know there's actually fish. This location, there's not fish. I know that there's not bass at least. I just came out here to kind of give you guys a swim test and show you guys what they look like, maybe talk about my setup and the techniques that I use so you guys can get some more information and have some fun with me. Without further ado though, before we get started, I just want to talk about how today's video is going to be sponsored by shopkarls.com. If you guys are not familiar with shopkarls.com, it is my favorite tackle shop to get all my arsenal, all my gear. I get my treble hooks, my owner hooks, my beast hooks, everything that I use for my swim bait fishing. On top of that, I get my pliers, I get my line cutters, I get my line, my cigar, fluoro, everything that you need, Shop Karls has it. On top of that, if you're a member at Shop Karls, you get free shipping and tons of discounts. So you definitely need to get over there and take a look at it, guys. And while you're over there, you can actually use my code RyanR10, save yourself $10 off purchases of $25 or more. So if you need to pick up some new line, pick up some new hooks, get on over there, use the link below, use my code, save yourself some money, and get that gear so you can start slinging swim baits like I am out here. So I'm gonna go slap the chesty on. We'll do a little walkthrough of what baits I'm actually gonna be throwing in particular in the order, and we'll go over the techniques, the real techniques that I'm using them, and I guess we'll just kind of go from there, have fun with it. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so here goes nothing. First thing we're going to be throwing is that UFO swim bait. This is that male gill pattern. I've been tossing a lot recently, and actually I've been hooking up on some nice bass. I'd probably say about 3-4 pounders. And we're tossing it on 20-pound fluoro. Everything that we're going to be doing today is going to be on the same setup. It's going to be 20-pound fluoro. This is the G Loomis swim bait rod. It is going to be a 3 to 10 ounce swim bait rod. I went ahead and customized it myself. I added these handles by doing a tape and heat treat. If you guys are wanting to know how to do it yourself, I have a whole video. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link below, but you guys can just go and check out my feed. It's probably one of my more popular ones. On top of that, we're throwing it on the Corrado 200 with a Gomexis little power handle. So let's go ahead and start tossing. Okay, first cast, here we go. I'm just going to give it little short chucks at first so we get some good close-ups for you guys. Show you what they look like. As you can see, it's just a nice little slow swim bait. You can crank it, pause it, twitch it. You can do a bunch of different methods with it. I'll kind of show you everything real quick, but I just want to get a few nice easy casts in and just kind of give you guys a real close good look, because the water's a little bit more stained than I was expecting, but as you can see, it swims really nice. This is a 3 to 6 foot crank, I believe, or like a shallow crank. It might be a 1 to 3 foot, but basically you just crank it down. The more you crank, the deeper it goes. If you work it nice and slow, it stays on top, kind of works as a wake bait. You can twitch it. It's one of my favorite ways to work it, is just little popping methods. I actually found out with this swim bait style bait, this 3-piece, what I like to do personally, I'm gonna show you guys real quick, is I get on my handle and I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I do little taps and then big pull, and it does a certain little dying looking swim to me. It's like it's jerking forward and then all of a sudden it turns sideways, and I really think that attracts the bass to bite. This bait actually $160, available at UFO Baits. He does drops, I would say bi-monthly, not every month. Sometimes just skip a few months, but when he produces baits, they are beautiful. This is all custom hand painted, hand molded, He even put my name on it so that way he knows if I resell it, that it was me. So he has a certain method to his madness, 1 bait per person, but they are really, really pretty baits. And right now, this is probably my favorite multi-segment swim bait that I own. It does have that square bill, so if you do kind of hit the base or hit the ground, you kind of bounce off of it. So I do really, really enjoy that. I've actually noticed that more recently is when it's swimming, the hooks kind of come up. So when that bill hits, you're not actually getting hooks into the ground or onto the rock. So really, really digging this bait. This is probably, like I said, my favorite multi-segment swim bait. Let's go ahead, ton another one, show you guys what it looks like. All right, guys, next bait is the Sly Guy Replica Gill. This is a swim bait underground and Sly Guy collab. This is a slow sinking lure. I believe it comes in at about 2.2 ounces. It's about 7 inches in length, and it's ultra realistic, man. If you look at the belly of this thing, it's got super, super realistic scales. They look identical to a bluegill or to a bream, whatever you guys call them in your area. Really, really digging this lure. I've yet to throw it, but we're going to be doing a swim bait competition here soon, so I did want to get out and kind of test these things, so that's going to give me a good idea of what I'm going to be throwing in the future. So let's start tossing this thing. All right, here goes nothing. This guy's definitely heavier. This thing, I don't think it's 2 ounces. I think it's heavier than 2 ounces. It's got to be like 3 ounces. I'll have to put the exact weight. Oh, that glide though. It's so sleek. It's not crazy. It's not like really, really sporadic like the DRT, like the glides that I'm used to. It's just really calm. Nice move, nice move. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys real quick again. Sometimes what I do is when I'm hitting these glides, I kind of rod tap it like this. It doesn't look like this is one that you really want to do that to. It looks like you can do it too, but it looks like it does better on the reel cranks. Real quick with the reel cranks, as you can see, it gets a nice pivot back and forth non-stop. And then if I start doing the little rod taps, let's see if I can get it over here real quick. Just rod taps, it kind of skips. It skips forward. It looks realistic though. It looks like more like a roaming bluegill than a sporadic bluegill with that gliding motion. So I do like both of those motions. I do also notice if you just kind of straight retrieve it, it kind of keeps a nice tight little wind, which is very common for people who are trying to burn little reed edges. You want to keep it tight so that way it doesn't go into the grass, and then they'll pause. You know, they'll get it out there and they'll burn, pause, burn, pause, burn, pause. As you can see, it gets a really, really nice little tight little zigzag and then comes out and kind of comes around the corner. And a lot of times when bluegill are running away from bass, that's what they do. You know, they zigzag and then they pause and they kind of watch their back like, dude, you better not go for me. Like, I got spikes on the back of me. And yeah, sometimes the bass will just go for them anyways. Let's take one more look at this thing. I'm actually really, really digging this thing. I will say the hooks that they put on this are a little bit bigger than I am used to, or that I would like to use. I prefer a number 2, I believe is what I use, and I believe these are probably like a number 1 or 4. I don't know which size you need to go, but these are definitely bigger than number 2. It is a really nice slow sink. Like, it's definitely taking some time to get down there. That's one thing about this bait in comparison to that UFO. That UFO stays on top of the water until you start cranking it down. That's what that lip does. If you stop cranking it, it'll float back up to the surface. Unlike this lure, you toss it out there, if you just let it sit, it's gonna just fall all the way down to the bottom. As you can see, it hits the bottom of the ground right there. It's gonna sit on the ground. That means if you're fishing shallow water, you're gonna wanna keep it on top of the surface a little bit more so that way you don't get cut up on the bottom. Also, if you're fishing deep water, you might wanna give it like a few seconds to sink. But either way, dude, I really like this thing. It is looking nice. Let's go ahead and tie on the next bait though and show you guys what we got. The next bait we're gonna be taking a look at is the Fishing Magician Stich Shad, and this thing actually went for 180. It's a little bit more customizable, I guess is the right word. You can take out this little piece, add this weight in, you can add plastic in, you can remove the weights on the inside, you can add a knocker, you can actually add a multi-segment bait, you can add a 4-segment bait. So there's a bunch of really cool things that you can do with this bait. As you can see, I lost the tail. I haven't installed the new one, but I've had this bait for quite a while and I just haven't made a video on it yet. Really, really digging this bait, really like it. It's got some really, really cool like skull patterns. It's got a stitched mouth. It's got a really cool evil eye, and it's just always catched my eye when when I used to see it on the market, so I definitely wanted to pick it up as one of my first swim baits when I got into them. So let's go and toss it out there, show you guys what it looks like. It is once again a glide style bait. As far as the rest of the baits that we're going to be looking at are going to be glide style baits, so I'm just going to kind of hop it out there real quick, show you guys what they look like, because for the most part they will be doing the same kind of motion. There are going to be a little difference as far as like size, looks, paint, and like slow sink, you know, floating, stuff like that. So I do want to show you all of them, but realistically they're all going to be glide baits, so they're all going to have that pivotal motion and they're all going to kind of react the same. But either way, let's go start tossing this thing, show you guys what it looks like. All right, once again guys, this one's missing the tail, so I don't know what happened. I got crazy with it one day and lost the tail. I really like this bait though. It glides really exaggerated, really extreme. Got a lot slower of a sink too. On top of that, you can always remove the weights and make it on like a glide bait on top of the water, more of like a wake style bait. So there's a little bit more techniques and customizable ways that you can retrieve this bait. But as far as glide baits go, as you can see, you bring it in fast, it's got that nice tight little wind. You bring it in slow, I'll show you guys. It's got that nice hop back and forth. You start adding that rod little twitch in. This one gets a little crazy. It almost rolls sideways. Kind of reminds me of like a DRT. It's just not as wide. But as far as glide baits goes, that's mostly what they're going to look like. They're going to get that pivotal look. This one, realistically, if I was retrieving it, I would probably pop it a few times, then pause it, pop it a few times, then pause it. Maybe even just go back to the reel crank after a few taps. It all just depends on structure for me too. If like I'm fishing reeds, I personally like to work it a little bit slower. If I'm fishing rocks, I like to work it a little bit faster. I don't want it to get hung up on the rocks. So that's just what I've grown accustomed to, but I'm sure everybody has their own techniques, their own styles that they like. But that twitching, that little tapping of the tip, and that crank down seems to be my favorite way to retrieve them. But then again, you can always burn it and pause, burn it and pause. That works really good too. So now you got a good idea of this one. Let's go ahead and tie on our next bait. This next one's another fun one. This is going to be the Paperweight Shad. It's going to be, I believe, about a 7-inch bait. The last bait, I don't think I said that, it's about a 7-inch bait as well. The weight on this bait is probably going to be about 2.2 ounces. It's a lot lighter, and it seems to have a lot more finesse in the tail compared to the other glide baits that I have in my collection, at least in comparison to the last few that I threw. This thing is going to be retailing for about $120 to $160, just depends on the pattern, where you pick it up, how you pick it up. Another fun thing about this bait is you can actually see the eyes on both sides when you look straight down the middle of this bait. So that slim body is definitely a unique design that is just really cool. I definitely think it'll attract the bass. It has some pretty spot-on realistic features. It's got a little gill, it's got a little mouth, it's got the eyes, it's got the back fins, and it's got a little feather tail. Yet to try it, but let's go and toss it out there, see what it looks like. All right, first things first, just kind of look at the glide. Oh, whoa, this thing's slow sink. Really nice glide motion too. When you just use the reel crank, I really am digging that. That's probably my favorite way to retrieve lures, just because it's slow and easy. But look at that thing, man. It is just slowly falling. I really like that slow sink. Twitch it. There you go. It looks like a roaming shad. Nothing too sporadic. It's nice and calm, but it still looks like it's nervous. It's running. It's roaming. It's looking for a place to hide. Oh, you get some nice twitches, man. Hey, that rod twitch looks really nice. All right, let's try to burn it in real quick, see what it looks like. Oh, you can't really burn it in too fast, it looks like. It kind of comes out of the water. Keep that rod tip down. Oh, wow, okay. It's like a wide wake. You can't go too fast with this thing, it seems like. That's good to know for tournament day if I do want to toss this thing. I like that feathered tail. Kind of allows the bait to stick out of the water, just the tail portion. Looks really realistic coming through the water. I like that. You have to actually toss a bait with a feather tail like this, and I will say that's a really cool technique. I'm digging that. Big eyes, nice slow glide bait. Let's test out the next one now. All right, guys, the next two lures that we're going to be taking a look at are the DRTs that we got. It is the DRT TK and the DRT K9. The reason I'm showing you guys both at the same time is we're kind of running low on sunlight, so I'm going to try to work them pretty quick. They're more or less kind of the same movement. I will say the K9 moves a little bit wider, a little bit more sporadic. I think it just has to do with the length of the body. The TK is going to be coming in at 6.6 inches, 2.2 ounces, and your K9 is going to be coming in at 9 inches and I believe 4.4 ounces, 4.2 ounces, something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but I'll leave them below for you guys. Both these patterns are going to be the Joytheif pattern. It is a working class Zero collab that was available only in the USA. So let's go and start tossing them, show you guys what they look like. Here's the TK. We're gonna kind of make this quick. TK 6.6 inches. It's one of my favorite baits, probably is my favorite bait. As you can see, really sporadic movement on that twitch. The TK is a very unique Japanese oriented bait. It has a lip that is removable. It has a tail that you can actually swap out, go the other way so that way it can stay on top of the water. This way it goes underneath the water. On top of that, they have a V-style tail, so that way it can kind of do a little bit more of a slimmer shake. They also have a new transfer tail that does a really wide shake. So there's a bunch of really cool things about this lure. Once again, oriented in Japan and started making its way here in the US, and it's really popular in the swim bait community. They retail anywhere from $60, I would say, to about $100. I've seen them as far as retail from a shop. They can go all the way up to $250 to $300 on eBay and aftermarket stuff like that. That is just the TK. The K9 is more or less around the same, actually. You can sometimes find them around $250, $300, you know, on the aftermarket, but in the store they go for usually about $100 to $120 retail. So that is going to be that twitching motion. I'm going to show you guys real quick that reel down motion. Try to get back over here so not in the view of the camera. And the cool thing about the TK is it is going to float on top of the water until you start cranking it down. That tail pointed in that downward motion is what actually propels it underwater. Like I said, you pull this tail straight out, you flip it over, and now you're working on top of the water. I'm just going to show you guys really quick, and then we're going to swap out to the K9, just because you can throw this TK and show you guys all day. There's so many different ways to throw it. If you're really interested in wanting to see just what the TKs look like in K9s, let me know. I can make a whole video just on that specifically, but I'm about 99% sure you can just YouTube that or Google it yourself and find one right away. And then we're going to do a little burning method. That's with the tail upward. I hate that tail like that. I'll go back to how I like my tail. Tail downward, run out of sun, and my camera keeps overheating. So I'm trying to make this as smooth and simple for you guys. That rod tip, that reel twitch, and then burning. Burning was just on top of the one there. Let's go and burn it again. It's kind of hard to burn. You can burn it with the transfer tail, but that's what's crazy, is this one doesn't really allow you to burn it because it's so short, and that transfer tail, I believe, comes out a lot wider. It's more like airplane wings, so that kind of helps it pivot through the water, and that's where that fast burning and pausing technique comes from when you're using that DRT. Another thing about these baits is it's not just one lip. There's like 6 different lips that you can buy, so tons of different ways to swim these things. I probably will have to do a whole video in depth on it for you guys because I have mostly all the parts. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments below and we'll make it happen. Here goes that K9. Like I said, we're running low on sunlight, so bear with me. I hope you guys can see the last 2 baits that we got. K9 is not anything too crazy compared to the TK, so I'm just going to kind of keep it quick. As you can see, you get those wide little shakes that TK had. It is 4.4 ounces, so it is a lot heavier of a bait to sling out there. Those reel cranks, though, with this bait are a lot nicer. You can work it a lot slower. As you can see, it looks really smooth. It looks more like a roaming fish. You got to have a little bit more distance in that cast, though, compared to where I'm standing. There you go. Those shakes like that where it just goes back and forth, that's how you get those bass that just blow up off the edges, off reeds, off rocks. As you can see, it dives down a lot deeper too, just with using the tail compared to the TK where it wasn't this far down in the water. So one thing about the K9 is it is bigger, so it's going to be doing bigger movements. It's going to be sinking a little bit further in the water and possibly attracting a little bit bigger bass. At TK, you can get 1 pounders, 2 pounders, half pounders. This K9, it's usually going to be about a 3 pounder and up. 2 pounder if they're really aggressive, but you're usually looking at about, I mean, a 3 to 4 pound fish when they're going to be hooking up on something like this. I've seen buddies of mine catch, I want to say 8 to 10 pound bass on these K9s, so they're definitely really popular in the swim bait community, and that's why their resale value is so high as well. So many different ways and styles to use this lure, and that's why it's really popular, and it's even got some rattles in it. If you hear, that's another thing that attracts those fish. Those large wakes and those loud rattles gets them going, man. All right, guys, I think we're just going to be able to nail this last one out before it gets dark. This is going to be probably one of the most limited baits that I know of. As far as I'm aware, there's only a few other ones in the world right now. This is going to be the Phoney Frog, Phoney Shad, bronze back paint job color. It's going to be the scaled pressed bait. They have a scaled version, they have a non-scaled. It's going to have all soft plastic little fins. It actually has another fin that's supposed to be on top of the bait, but I haven't installed it yet just because I wanted to get out here, kind of test it out first, and see if I actually wanted it or needed it. But this thing looks amazing, guys. The eyes look crazy. The bait itself just looks amazing. It's also got those 360 hooks like some of these other better baits. It's going to be a little bit heavier. I think it's probably going to be around 3 to 4 ounces, and it is going to be about 7.5 inches, maybe even a little bit bigger than that. So this is definitely going to be one of your meatier, bigger baits. It does retail for $160, so it is pretty affordable for the look, for the customization, and everything that you get with it. So let's go ahead and toss it out there and see what it looks like, and get a good idea for you guys. To be honest, I hope that you guys can see it because it's getting weird shaded over here. Dude, the glide on this thing looks amazing. It is just searching. Look at that. It's heavy on the rod tip. You can just feel it the whole way it's pulling, which is really, really good because that means you're going to keep that tension. And I like that in a bait. Sometimes when you get these pivots, the lure itself will start to kind of just get slack in the line, and you can tell that's not going to happen with this bait. It's definitely front heavy. You can feel it. Let's burn it real quick. Okay, some wide little burns, nothing crazy. It doesn't look like burning it's going to be the way to bring it in. Really, really wide. Let's see what it looks like with the little tap method. Tap method's kind of short, simple, kind of stubby, nothing too crazy. Looks like there's only sun over here, so I'm trying to keep it really short and simple for you guys. It seems like the best method's going to be those reel cranks though, man, where it gets the bait to almost turn around like that. Oh, that's how you get those bass to bite, those turnarounds. I believe this is the specific style of bait, not color or anything, that John B was getting some really nice bass in Possum Kingdom, and I'm going to be doing a tournament there soon, so I might have to take this one with me and see what happens. That is going to be that Phoney Shad though, man. Really, really cool. I like that glide that it's got. Really slow fall too. It's really comparable to that Paperweight. Still hasn't hit the bottom, just hit the bottom. I want to say that it's about a foot of water here, maybe less, and 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 seconds before it actually hits the bottom. That's perfect, man. That's perfect. That's what you want for a glide bait. Fish it shallow, you can fish it deep, and you're not going to have any issues. Another thing about this thing is it's not going deep as I'm cranking it. Sometimes that's what you have with these baits, is they just go down because they're so heavy. This one's kind of staying in that same area of the water. I really, really like that. And I also, if I'm not mistaken, it looked like the fin was kind of flared out right there on that thing. Either way, that's really cool. I enjoy the fact that they put soft plastic on there, so that way if a fish does bite on it or feels on it, you know, they do want to hold on and keep that thing in their mouth. Awesome lure, man. Once again, retailing $160. Just picked it up, one of few. I saw someone on eBay trying to resell it for like $600. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something about these swim baits, other than the fact that they're really expensive and they all kind of look the same in the water. I'm just kidding. As you can see, they all look completely different, but they all kind of cost the same. They're all really expensive. I will say, if you guys are interested in picking up any of these baits, they are really hard to come about, but I'm going to leave as much information below. So if you're interested in trying to figure out when the next drop is, or maybe a surprise drop that they're having, I'm leaving the links for the Instagram accounts or the websites, whatever they have, email addresses, whatever I use to pick up the baits, that's what I'm leaving for you below. So make sure you check it out if you're interested. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave me a thumbs up. Helps the channel a lot. Subscribe to the channel as well, because we're going to be fishing these swim baits in the big swim bait competition coming soon. It is going to be a pre-fish and a actual tournament day fish. Nothing but swim baits over 5.5 inches. So if you guys like swim baits, if you're having fun with stuff like that, make sure you check out that future video, and make sure you subscribe so you can be part of all the future videos as well. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. See you guys in the next one. Peace.